Hey!
Hey guys!
Fozzie.
Fozzie's saying hello to you. Welcome to our holiday episode. And hold on, I'm still getting things set up here. All right. So we have a special guest with us tonight. We will start with his introduction because he's normally just the dude that brings the drinks, but he's here early and brought drinks. And they match your shirt.
Yeah, they do.
Hold on.
+1. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you're our special guest for tonight. You're our holiday guest.
I'm usually the bartender behind the scenes, but
This is true.
I'm Doug. Hi. And I have a shark unicorn something going on.
The Sharkicorn.
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 All right, let's run through intros for anyone that may be joining us for the first time. I'm Emma Loggins from Fanbolt. Robert, you're next.
Robert, managing editor at 3F by Space. Matt.
I am Matt Rodriguez, the owner and chief editor of Shakefire.net.
Okay. And I'm Jen Steele, a senior writer for fanbolt.com.
Yay.
Woo! And welcome to Nerd Herd Live.
Welcome to Nerd Herd Live, our special holiday episode. This is going to be our last episode of 2022. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about. Matt, Robert, and I sat down with Rian Johnson and Janelle Monae 10 days ago. I don't even know. Like, time is just such a weird thing now.
It was last week sometime?
No,
right?
It was December. It was December 4th.
I felt like it was earlier in December.
I don't remember.
Or no, December 5th.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
We're already off to such a great start.
The point is, and I apologize for the random bell that you're going to hear ringing throughout, because I went full holiday mode because I didn't for the promo graphic for tonight's episode. Even though
we know.
And then everyone gave me grief about it. So now
did.
I'm super holidayed up tonight. But yeah, so Glass Onion premieres tomorrow on Netflix, December 23rd. It's so good. And we got the chance to sit down with them and chat a little bit about the movie.
Film.
So should we start with that?
Yeah, I say we should.
Let's start with that. So I'm going to add in our audio from our questions. I'm just going to be hitting this bell all night.
Way to go, Rudolph.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy Robert, Matt, and I's interview with Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. From writing these characters and from reading it to playing yours on screen, what surprised you most about the transition from page to on camera?
I mean, I feel like, to talk about Janelle's performance specifically, I feel like, I don't know, you write these things and you have a version in your head, but then, I've spent like a year writing it, and I know that movie. What I'm looking for is to find collaborators who are going to come in and surprise me with their choices. And I guess on paper it's one thing, but the complexity of what Janelle was actually tasked with in this movie, and the amount of depth she put into, I guess I'll avoid spoilers, so differentiating the different layers of this character, I didn't even really appreciate it until I got into the cutting room and saw the whole thing strung together. And that's something I could not have anticipated. I mean, you can have it on the page, but when you see a great actor like Janelle actually bring to life those little subtle differentiations and see that they're all built into it and baked in, I don't know. It was kind of magic, So
for me, it starts with the script, and I think what Rian wrote was just remarkable and so appetizing for me to sink my teeth into. Just delicious, a big delicious bite from start to finish, and especially with the character. When I read, what Rian was considering me for, I just knew. I was like, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna play, we're gonna go on a ride as a character because there's so much there. And I loved everything on the page. Ryan is just the ultimate collaborator, like he mentioned, a good partner to come in and say, ooh, what about this? Well, what about this accent? And what about if we drop some little Easter eggs here so when folks watch it the second or third time, watch it back, there's some little clues that speak to those different energies. And I will say this role challenged me in the best possible way as an actor. I feel like I've grown more as an actor. I've grown more as just really a human, honestly. Once you do something like this with the people that you just genuinely love, because this cast, I don't know if you guys could feel it, but we had a wonderful time, just like connecting. All of that showed up on screen, and he set the tone for that, to creating that family-like vibe. So you go in thinking, all right, I'm gonna do this, do that, and then you just get transformed in a completely different way, and you leave room also for surprise. You know, there were lots of moments where we talked, and you know, through our talking through things, that it may not necessarily have been something that when you read it, you saw it, but when you do it, you're like, yes, that's it. So I always leave that element of surprise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Knives Out, in my opinion, brought back a lot of joy to the whodunit genre. How do you see Glass Onion and Knives Out as a franchise growing, and what do you think draws people into that genre of film?
Well, I mean, growing up kind of loving whodunits from an early age, like starting with Agatha Christie's, but it starts for me with Agatha Christie, and I loved her books growing up. I loved the movies that were made of her books growing up, Death on the Nile, Evil Under the Sun, the Peter Ustinov Poirot movies. That was kind of, that was my jam when I was a kid. And if first and foremost, it's just an incredibly fun genre. There's nothing not fun about it. And the fact that it lets you have an ensemble, the fact that it has a mystery to it, you can have comedy, it's just kind of the most fun a movie can be. For me, for this series, there's a couple big ingredients, though. The first one is kind of ignoring the notion of timelessness and setting it just unapologetically right here and right now, and using this form that we've mostly seen as period pieces to engage with the present moment in kind of the candy-coated shell of this fun mystery. That to me seemed like a really exciting prospect. And going forward, I mean, the big thing that I want with these is for them, again, to reflect Agatha Christie's books, where it's a whole new deal every single time. I never want, and Daniel and I both feel like the instant we feel like we're just kind of turning the crank on another one, we'll stop. I want to be thrilled, excited, and kind of scared by the prospect of each new one of these. Ooh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I was just thrilled and excited and a little scared there. That was great. So I mean, with the, and that's, I'm starting to think of ideas for the third one now. It's like, how can it be completely different than this one, And so that's kind of, that's kind of where it's at. Yeah.
I'm curious to know about the whole sets. These sets in the film are absolutely gorgeous, and most of them involve a lot of glass, a lot of reflections. So working around that, both as an actor, as a director, and filming that process, what was that like for you?
Well, Rick Heinrich, who's our production designer, who I had worked with on The Last Jedi, and Rick, he's incredible. He came up with Tim Burton, so he's done a lot of Tim Burton's films. And Rick is amazing at doing very beautiful, very character-based design, but on a grand scale, which is kind of what we needed to get inside Miles Braun's head. And so all those beautiful sets, which are built on sound stages in Belgrade, actually, where we were for the second half of the shoot, those are all from the mind of Rick. I have to say, though, that massive set that we were on, I mean, it's also...
Oh, you took from Miles's house?
Yeah, Miles's house, yeah. The thing
Up
is,
in the Glass Onion.
Well, Up in the Glass Onion, it's gorgeous. Yeah, absolutely.
But that was Grease, but you're talking about the
Yeah,
sounds.
absolutely. Yeah. The big one, because it does reflect Miles' brain, it's also kind of an eyesore, and we were on that set. We were on that set a while.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, I think you were ready to start smashing it up by the end of the...
Oh yeah, and we did. We did.
I'm sure that was a lot of fun.
Did we? It was cathartic. It was so fun, and I think, speaking of what Ryan is saying, just about how this genre within itself is like, you bring the elements of the people, the star-studded cast on this private island in Greece, and you're at a murder mystery. That within itself is just like fun, and getting a chance to smash things and do action and do the comedy and do the drama, and was just like a very transformative experience, as I mentioned before. But being with the cast too, like I was so excited about working with Daniel, working with Edward, Kate, Catherine, everybody. Like you grew up watching their work, right? And so there was a part of me that was a little nervous, but there was also a part of me that was eager to learn as well from them and their processes. And when I met them, they could not all be more, like they were so just down to earth, humble, scared too. A lot of us didn't have a whole lot of work during that time, during the pandemic, so it was the first thing we were returning back to. And so we just all wanted to do right by this script and this material since we loved it so much. And yeah, and then Rick, I love Tim Burton too. I mean, he and to know that somebody like that legendary was coming and creating some of those sets, it reminds you of why you love acting and why you got into movie making.
I just want to put a PSA out there. This is why you mute your phones during a movie or an interview or anything in between. Just pointing that out.
They handled it well, though.
Yeah.
They did, which is great because,
it was
happens.
none of us. We were in a round table.
Yeah.
There were like, what, how many of like 7 or 8 of us?
There was 8 of us, and they started with us, and I was actually, we only had 15 minutes with them, and I know I had 12 questions for them. Then like everyone got one question in, and we didn't even think we were going to get around the full table.
Yeah. I mean, we ended up having like 20 minutes with them about.
Yeah.
So.
And everybody got their question in.
You can read the full roundtable interview on all of our respective websites. So go there to hear more questions about the filming of Knives Out and see the movie tomorrow. Yeah. It is a lot of fun.
I am going to watch it again because I've watched it twice, but each time I found a little clue.
Yeah.
Earlier in the film than I realized, which is part of what I loved about Knives Out, and specifically Glass Onion, that just made it a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I think that's what benefits it the most being on Netflix is that you can immediately have those rewatches or fast forward and like control it at your own pace and do whatever and see all the little clues that they drop after you see it that first time. You can immediately go back and watch it again and have a completely different perspective based on how things play out.
Absolutely. And I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room. We were all wearing the same outfits in the photo.
Yes. All 3 of us.
So
and they absolutely loved it.
They did. And I was like, this is either going to be a disaster or it's going to be brilliant. Because there's a saying that, like, if you're going to a concert, like, you don't wear the band shirt. It's like, you just don't do it for whatever reason. I violated this numerous times, but I've been told you're not supposed to do it.
Well, for those that don't know, what we were wearing was as part of the promotional material for the film for consideration for awards. We received a shirt, a hat, and a few other things that were basically themed around the show. So we decided to wear the hat and the shirt to the interview as a way to promote Glass Onion, but also to get a response out of both Ryan and
draw
Janelle.
Attention to ourselves.
Yeah. and attention.
And it worked.
It worked.
So.
No, it was a great interview. They were delightful to talk to. I wish we'd had more time with them, and anyone that sat down with them, because I had Star Wars questions for Ryan.
Oh yeah, it's like we had so many questions and different things. Like even as I was like transcribing the interview to post on Shakefire, it's like, oh, I was coming up with questions like, oh, I would love to like ask him about this and this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like you never have enough time.
No,
you
with
never
any
do.
interview.
And like, well, but especially with like us, right? We're all smaller press, so like we're thrilled to get one question. But there is always like that weird interview where like no one shows up and it's just you, and you need 10 questions and not one.
Yep.
Jen knows.
Yep.
Jen
Been
knows
there.
this.
Yeah, there is.
That's usually never like the interview like you want. The interview like you're super excited for and like super prepared for. where you're like,
I
oh my God, I
accept
can't wait to interview this person. Like my interview with Zach Braff. Like if I had
It would have been
one-on-one,
fine.
Mhm.
if I had an hour, 2 hours, boom,
You could still
no
be
issue.
interviewing him like 2 years later, and you would still like it would still
Exactly.
be like a seamless conversation.
But it's always that interview where like, okay, it's like, yeah, it's like I have a few questions. I'll be fine. Other people will ask questions. I only have a few minutes, whatever. Nope. That's when they're going to lay it on you right beforehand that, oh, by the way, you have half an hour alone.
Mhm. Emma and I did have our surprise one-on-one with Betty White and William Shatner and Donald Faison.
And we would have been fine, but even then, they were like one question. So,
Really? Because I mean, it was just the surprise one-on-one is the main thing that I remember,
yeah.
and they talked a lot. So
Which is
Yeah.
good. I mean, I think we've all been burned at least once or twice doing interviews at conventions and other things where it's like we always over prepare questions, and if we only get one, great. But if that moment comes in where the person you're interviewing is a one-word answer to everything, or it's one-on-one, you've got some depth as a just in case.
Yeah.
assuming they answer questions.
Yes.
That too.
I have
Mark,
actually-
cough.
I've been on stage in front of, and we won't talk about it here in detail because I don't want anyone to be able to figure out what it is. But I was on stage with a very famous director, and they sold tickets to this event. And Doug knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, we all know what you're talking about.
And I was super excited to interview this person. Will not identify gender because that will also probably help give it away. And this person told me that they were really bad at giving interviews, but they would do their best. And then we got up on the stage, and it was literally like just one sentence answers to everything. And I prepared 20 questions, and I thought that was substantial. We went through them in 8 minutes.
Oh,
It was like, and so like I kept trying to like kind of be like, let's elaborate. And she's like, I don't really I've just
Boom.
or he.
That's when you go to the audience. When you're in a big group like that.
Specifically, I was told we couldn't take audience questions, and like I wish that we could have, because we were talking about movies that were so long ago that like she didn't remember in detail about what I was asking her, and so it was just like and we've done those kind of interviews before at conventions where you're interviewing someone for something they did 20 years ago.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Fans remember it like it's yesterday because it's like iconic and like it's a cult piece of film or television, but like they don't remember it because they've done 70 other projects since. So it's a very,
or especially if they're like some actors where they're like, I don't watch my own performance, like I don't watch the movies I'm in, like, you know, it's their job. They do the role and then they move on to the next. So it's like,
Right.
You ask them something about it and they're like, I don't remember, which is why like I always remember what's her name? From the Goop stuff.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. Where like there was this whole controversy where it's like, oh my God, Gwyneth Paltrow doesn't remember that she was in, I think it was Spider-Man or something. It was one of the Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
Where she was like, oh yeah, I don't even remember. Oh, it's like, oh yeah, I was in that. And
Yeah.
people were like going off on her because she said that. But it was like one of the post-credits scene for Spider-Man that they probably filmed for like at the back end of one of the Iron Man movies and stuff.
Well, and that
Yeah.
that just happened recently with Edie Falco. She
for Avatar.
Yeah, she forgot that it hadn't even come out yet. And when people started talking about it the last few weeks, she's like, oh, I thought it came out years ago and flopped.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
So, but you've got to realize that not no spoilers, but the limited amount of scenes that she had in the film were shot
I know, we're like,
So-
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Two people here have not seen it yet. So
Right. You're good. You're good. So, but
I mean,
but,
even with
5
me
years-
and the stuff I did, where like Jungle Cruise, when I filmed Jungle Cruise, like that was
That
I
was a
think like
while.
3 or 4 years,
yeah,
because like that got pushed back. Like that was supposed to come out pre-pandemic, and then got pushed back, and stuff. And so like things change, and like you move on to other projects and stuff, and you forget, and you're like, oh yeah.
yeah. And
Just to
and-
clarify, Matt was second from the left on the shore.
Yeah.
I was the one closest to the camera.
I'm right though, right? It was second from the left, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. See,
We'd have to rewatch. But case in point, because it's I mean, it's she wasn't doing any of the press, for it, and when you go that many years and you're doing other projects,
You just don't
it's
remember.
you just don't remember.
I think it's also an interesting conversation because obviously, in each of our respective roles, when we're interviewing someone that we're really excited to interview, we're obviously all nervous. But they're all nervous too because they want to make sure that they give good answers to stuff, and especially when they're talking about something in retrospective. I remember
you hope they are. You hope they want to give you an answer.
they are.
yeah.
There's been exceptions. We won't go
Yeah.
into that. But there was an actress from Lost who shall remain unnamed because there's multiple ones it could be. So try to be discreet.
Oh my god.
But I was getting ready to do an interview with her, and her agent like specifically had said in regards to like any sort of like when we had her up on stage or when we were asking any questions to not ask her to quote anything from the show. And like I wasn't planning to. And I don't know what I still to this I watched every episode of Lost 3 times, and I still don't know what they would have asked her to quote. But like the level of like fandom around certain properties and like the expectation that they have that it is as big a part of the actor's life as it is a part of their life, like, and they want to give you that experience. Like it's stressful for everybody is what I'm trying to say. So,
Yeah.
but anywho's moving along.
That was a fun little tangent.
I was looking around to see if I could find a Sharpie to put "Not Penny's Boat" on my hand real quick, but
It wasn't Penny. I've never met Penny.
No.
I'm not going to start narrowing it down because then
it's like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
There's so many great convention stories. I still think that I'm just putting the idea out there, and I'm pitching myself as a consultant for the show. Like the greatest show would be like a mockumentary behind the scenes of like a fan convention, and then you just bring in rotating celebrities. Like,
Didn't they do that? Wasn't that what Con Man, the Alan
Yeah.
Tudyk thing?
Yeah, but like
Didn't they try that
not enough people watched it because it needs to be on a major.
network?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was on. What was that on? I don't think that's around anymore, is it?
I don't
It
think
was
so.
like a special streaming platform. Jen's on it. I see her. I see her with her investigative.
Tappity,
look.
tappity, 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 tappity.
I'm pretty sure
Uh,
it's no longer around.
Here, I'll make the
it's
tappy
not
tappy
anymore.
sound for you.
Oh my god, it was on Vimeo.
No, it wasn't Vimeo.
The series premiered on September 30th, 2015 on Vimeo, with the first season consisting of 13 episodes. Second season premiered on Comic-Con HQ, Comic-Con's subscription streaming video service, and consisted of 12 episodes. Eventually, the series was acquired by Sci-Fi in 2017.
Oh well,
I think it was like a Kickstarter thing,
I think it was
right?
too.
Yeah.
And I remember Comic-Con HQ. I don't remember Vimeo and Sci-Fi. Sci-fi.
Yeah, sci-fi.
Well,
Sci-fi.
good to know. Well, there's a couple other things we want to talk about tonight.
Wait. I just want to say one thing about Glass Onion. Can we just acknowledge how much Daniel Craig just loves that character of Benoit Blanc? Like you can see how much fun he's having, and
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
part of the experience of watching the films, the first one and this one. Just he's good at it. He likes it. He's genuinely having fun, and you can see it in his.
Oh
act.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's good. It makes it even extra. It's like an extra cherry on top of the enjoyment.
Oh yeah.
It is. It is. And I think, I mean, there's
It's
been a
very
lot.
different than all his like action roles and James Bond and stuff.
Very different.
Yeah, and the British stuff, like I'm blanking on names, but he was in a lot of those that are like the old school British, like kind of heist and or go get 'em kind of films. So yeah, I think that he enjoys this whole. I don't know, is Benoit Blanc like Cajun? Like what is he exactly? I'm not sure.
It sounds like he's like Louisianan. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to like keep it vague and like maybe have it kind of go. There was a whole thing where if you read in our interviews where Ryan discussed about him and like how he basically said like Daniel Craig and Blanc, like he's not the protagonist, he's not the main focus of the film, and he's just kind of there to kind of go through it and stuff. And like the whole murder mystery itself is the main focus. So like they don't want to go too much into detail about his character and stuff because that's not the focus of the film.
Well, and
so they want to keep a lot of it vague.
That's a good. Yeah, that's a good. That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, at points it feels like he's you. You're him in the movie. You're like you were him in the film. You were trying to figure out what's going on, and piecing it together as you go. And he's sort of like a projection or an avatar.
I was gonna say the audience.
Oh, leave the room,
Yeah.
Doug. Go.
Wow.
Leave.
Yeah.
That was nicely done.
So
Okay, I'm done.
Doug parted the seas for that one, so I guess we can
Oh.
go ahead and swim into that discussion if you'd like.
You know what? I have to get my intro down. Like I've got to get my intro down. It's got to have something about puns. Probably needs to have a pun built into it. I mean, you
Probably
guys have
does.
your intros about like who you are and your platforms and everything. And
Yeah.
I am the +1, almost a professional +1 at this point.
That's how he describes himself,
Yeah,
which I'm just always, every time he describes himself, I'm like, I'm interested to hear what you say
I know.
this time.
I think it should just be. I think
In
at the end
reality-
it should just be and Doug.
Yeah,
And Doug.
Yeah,
And
like,
Doug.
And Doug.
Just
And
like
Peggy.
ampersand Doug.
It's like Zoolander 2, Adam and Eve and Steve.
And Doug.
And
And
Doug.
that.
Yeah, I went Hamilton with that one. So
Okay. Very
Well-
that
different.
was the and Peggy.
Yes.
3 of us here have seen Avatar. 2 of us had not.
We are going to keep it spoiler free.
There will be no
Okay.
Are we talking-
spoilers.
Are we talking about Avatar?
Tomorrow, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not.
Yeah,
It
we're
doesn't
just
count.
we're going to keep it spoiler free.
Sure. Fine.
I'm probably seeing it next year.
right around the corner.
I feel like this is an important conversation.
I think you should watch it on your cell phone as James Cameron intended you
I
to watch it.
On a teeny tiny plain screen as
so
Outside in the bright sun.
on a piece of door floating in the water.
Oh my god,
Oh.
they're doing a special on that at some point, right?
They are,
about
yeah.
how it's scientifically not possible for both Leo and Kate to have been
Yeah.
on board of the Titanic. But
I argue that Mythbusters already proved that one.
I was about to
They
say
did.
they were Mythbusters.
Yeah.
Mythbusters episode.
Yeah. It's like they
Cameron, so he wants to prove it too.
Okay.
It's James Cameron.
It's James Cameron.
I'm just
they're
reminded.
proving it like opposite directions. Like
Let's see.
Mythbusters proved it was possible, and James
Yeah.
Cameron is trying to prove that it's not.
Yeah.
Well, that better suits his narrative.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So I have to like kind of set up this story because it's very funny for anyone that watches this that's from Atlanta. We all had to go to Alpharetta for this screening because there was only 2 theaters remotely near Atlanta that were capable of providing the experience that Cameron wanted film critics to have. And in his defense, as much like crap as we all talked about going to Alpharetta, Robert and I specifically, because Robert and I we were coming back down 400 after the screening, and they shut down the entrance to 285. Our 45-minute drive back to where we live should have been. It was over 2 hours.
Yeah,
So
45. You never would have made that in 30 minutes.
No. Well,
even
I
like in a
mean-
McLaren. But yeah.
it was still. It was.
It was
Anyway.
a challenge.
It was a challenge.
It was
But-
almost as long as the movie.
It was almost
Oh.
yes. Our commute was
Oh.
almost as long as the movie.
It was.
I
It was.
will say, like, I hate, like, Cameron has had so many interviews, which I feel like just, like, don't necessarily paint him in the best light of how he's been, like, dropping F-bombs kind of left and right about stuff and being like, it's 3 hours, deal
Yeah,
with it. Blah, blah, blah.
Very much that, Doug. Very much that.
He's very arrogant. He's very cocky. And
But
to
he's
be
not
fair, like
wrong.
It's so
he's-
good.
he's earned it.
He's earned
He's
it.
earned
Like,
it.
he has 2 of the top grossing movies of all time.
And like,
Probably gonna be 3 with Avatar coming. Like
By the
Avatar's
time we're
already made.
done, it's probably
half a
going to be
billion.
6. So,
well,
I
and
mean,
so
let's be real.
let's briefly talk about that, because the officially published budget is like 400 and some million for the film, but he's put out a number of 2 billion is what it needs. And the speculation is because he's factoring in the fact that he shot all of 2 and 3 at the same time, plus all the technology investment that he put in. So his 2 billion is basically to cover both films, so he can get the green light to go with 4, 5, and eventually 6 and 7.
Well,
Because
also marketing and stuff, like you
Right.
know, where they say like it's double basically what it costs to actually be profitable.
right. So coming into the first 5 days since it's come out, not including today and tomorrow, which will make the full week, it's already at $610 million worldwide. He hasn't even been out the full week, and he's already over $500 million. So at this pace, going through the holiday weekend, I would guess he'll be north of $250 million. And probably by the time we get to New Year's, he'll cross the billion mark fairly easily, as they've been trending 55 million a day worldwide every day this week.
So I think this is a really interesting conversation for a number of reasons, because obviously inflation since the 2009 movie. So you have that in one aspect. Then you have the post-COVID landscape, which
Yep.
is, you know, a lot of people are not going to want to go to theaters. It's 3 hours. It is a commitment. If you want to see it in the ideal
And 12
environment,
minutes.
and in 12 minutes, 3 hours, is
3 hours and 12 minutes.
really just pushes it.
Important.
that's important.
Yes.
But like it is, if you see it in 3D IMAX, Dolby surround sound. By the way, Doug is drinking the Fanbolt drink. We'll talk about the Fanbolt drink and the
Yeah,
3
so,
by Space
like,
drink and
Get it
the
over here
Shake
for the color.
Fire
There we go. That
Shake Fire drink at the end of the show. So stay tuned. I just had to say that because Doug literally finished his drink and there was going to be nothing left to do a teaser with. But going back,
Doug is hyped.
Doug is hyped.
Wait, you know what? I'll do my job. I'll be back.
Yes.
I watched you do it. You were guessing for a
Ooh,
minute there,
ooh.
so
It's 1 part's everything and 2 parts pineapple juice.
I know. Yeah, there's 4 things.
All right.
It's fine.
It's fine. But no, it's an interesting conversation, because even like one movie ticket to like the ideal environment is a lot of money. So if you're going to take your whole family, just assume a family of 4, that's like a significant time investment. It's a significant money investment. Then if you're getting snacks, and because the only movies that have these like whole, you know, 3D IMAX Dolby surround sound environments are the ones that also have like, you know, the drinks, the food, you get the whole thing. It's more expensive.
Mhm.
And so like, would you do that over your holiday weekend, or would you watch Glass Onion on Netflix? Or like, you know, there's so much good stuff on streaming. Like I feel like it's it's a different landscape. There's inflation. It's more competitive in terms of if you're watching streaming or if you're going to the theater.
True.
It's a
Yeah.
whole different.
Granted, I don't feel like it's an either or, because most people have Netflix. So like you have the entire weekend to do that. Like that's
That's true.
And I think too, like if to your point, and you're right, if you compare the number of theaters first film versus this one for Avatar, and the inflation, right? Like if you just straight up look at Avatar 2009 versus now, you know, this time it did like 55 million more opening weekend. But if you factor in inflation, it's basically on par with the original film. So that's not a bad thing, right? It's trending in the same daily numbers as the original film did. And
I mean, granted, the original film, it didn't have a great opening weekend. It had longevity.
Exactly. And so you look at the numbers, like Wednesday was up 25% versus Monday and Tuesday. And as it continues, it's appointment watching. It's appointment movie going, because to your point, there's limited theaters, there's limited seats that offer the IMAX 3D experience. And so people are having to sort of pick and choose when they go, rather than just being, hey, I'm near the theater, let's go hit it up. And so I think we're going to see it sustain itself. I mean, again, I just, if I do the simple math, we're already over $500 million and it hasn't even been a full week. I don't foresee the film having any issue at the end of whether it's 30 days or 60 days, or if it's within the first month, hitting the 2 billion mark that he's looking to hit. It just doesn't seem like it's going to have any issues with that. And
I don't know that I agree though, Robert. Like looking at literally 2009 versus the this year's release. So domestic altogether accounted for 785,000 of Avatar 2009. So internationally, it was 2.1 billion.
Yep.
And that includes the original release, the 2010 special edition, the 2020 re-release, which I guess happened in APAC. I don't know what APAC stands for. In 2021, it
Asia Pacific, it's like Australia, New Zealand, Japan.
Okay. Well, in 2020, March 12, 2021, it released again in China, made another 57 million. And this is, again, the 2009 original version. And then in 2022, from September 21st through September 30th, they released in 47 markets and made another 24.7 million, all on the original film. I don't know that this, like Avatar: The Way of Water, is something like you're gonna have to have people going to see it multiple times.
Yeah.
Which based on the feedback that I'm seeing on social, is a lot of people have been doing that. And if you factor inflation into your number, like not the re-release and just the original release, if you factor in just the straight original release with inflation, the $2 billion mark basically is saying it's on par with the original film. It's not blowing the original film out of the water from a numbers perspective. It's just based on the current rate of, of money now, that's what it would take to be on par with the first film's release.
But
what's up, Gary?
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
In that argument, though, Robert, don't we need to make more than 2 billion if we're talking about inflation?
Sure. I mean, technically, if you're comparing it to pre-inflation numbers, but I mean, if you're comparing it to the money and the profit now, obviously they've come up with that number based on what they want to do to make a profit with today's money. And frankly, the inflation has sped up the most in the last 2 to 3 years with the pandemic, and they finished filming in 2020 right at the start of the pandemic. So, a lot of the cost was spent before the inflation hit to some respect.
I mean, honestly, I don't think it's going to have the same legs as the original Avatar. Just people don't go to the theaters the same they went to a decade ago. I mean, that's to me what's going to be the biggest thing.
Well, and that's true. And I mean, you read some of the headlines from some of the sites that are intentionally being clickbaity, and they're blaming the market price drop of like AMC and Regal solely on Avatar. And it's like, wait a minute, guys, you had this issue long before Avatar came out, and it's not your scapegoat to fix people wanting to go to the movie theater.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a movie that we're all going to recommend you go to the theater to see to get the right experience. But it isn't going to fix the movie theater experience and get people to go back, to your point.
No.
And, yes, movie theaters are going to be where it makes the majority of its money right now, but it's not going to be the only way that it makes its money.
Well, okay, let's talk about that for a second too, right? Because the at-home experience of this movie is vastly different.
Well, we haven't seen it at home, right? So we don't know.
No, Matt told me to watch it on my phone, so I was doing the at-home experience.
At-home experience. Well, and that too.
I mean, it will be vastly different.
It will be different, no doubt.
Vastly different, but there is a number of moments. I almost wish that we could talk to someone that had seen this movie in the not ideal environment for the first time, because obviously we're all kind of, we've all seen it. We saw it in the ideal environment, so we can't necessarily compare and contrast.
Jen, how are you going to be seeing it?
There's a very nice theater in Pooler, which is down closer to where my parents live, where I'm going for Christmas. And so I'll be seeing it in 3D, so on and so forth.
Gotcha. Okay.
So my coworker in Florida went and saw it, not IMAX. She just did what was like the XL screen, so it's not IMAX. So not the ideal experience. And she was blown away by it and loved it. She generally had the same comments that we had and everybody did. The plot is nothing special, right? I mean, because it isn't. But the visuals were just stunning.
But I wonder about how the visuals translate in the not ideal environment, right? Because there are a lot of moments where Cameron he pauses. How when you're in you're watching a comedy show and an actor pauses for the laughs on all of their jokes, right?
And it's for the 3D. It's you zoom in on something that, like a water droplet or an arrow that's shooting towards the camera. You really focus on that stuff for that 3D aspect.
Exactly. And that's what
seeing that in 2D, it's not gonna, it doesn't translate.
But I want the response to timing on the regular version of seeing this, are you going to be annoyed with Cameron's pauses? Because you don't necessarily need to appreciate it in the same way that you would the 3D experience, right? So how does the timing of that translate to seeing it in a normal theater?
I also wonder too, and not that this is something that's readily available in everybody's home, but how does something like the Meta Quest and the Vive and those VR headsets potentially play a role in the ability to immerse yourself in a 3D style environment at home to watch the film? Again, it's that technology is still a novelty versus anything serious. And that's the one thing about the original Avatar versus now, that while he may have revolutionized 3D and he sort of did it again with the technology here, it's not been adopted readily by people at home in the technology that we have, or frankly, in the general interest of people at home.
Yeah.
The 3D is amazing. I feel like this film, unlike the first one, while it still relied heavily on the 3D, I felt like the clarity of the motion capture and the high frame rate took a larger seat than the 3D did in this film versus the first one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So again, do people at home have TVs that can handle those higher frame rates, 4K, 8K? Probably much easier than 3D. Is that going to be enough? I mean, if you look at all of the exit polls from people who have seen the film, they're surprisingly very high right now, from IMDb to Rotten Tomatoes to critic score to everything under the sun. Everybody, it's at a plus 90%. Pretty much everywhere.
It's very positive.
But
what I would say, we always kind of describe the high frame rate as soap opera television, right? It's you lose a sense of realism with that level of.
It feels like a video game cutscene.
Yeah.
It
It just doesn't translate well. I don't want to watch for me personally, I don't want to watch a movie that looks like that. I don't want to watch a TV show that looks like that. We've turned that
Yeah.
feature off on our TV because
yeah.
like it is.
It doesn't look or feel cinematic, and it doesn't feel realistic. Like I'll take Saving Private Ryan or anything that like films, because like that you feel more immersed into it. And that was one of my big problems with Avatar, where it does feel like you're watching this whole 3D environment, this high frame rate video game-esque, because everything is so much CGI.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you have everything. It's so visual effects heavy, and like there's nothing to really ground you into the film.
Well,
everything is fake.
I mean,
and it's just like
I would disagree on that. It feels fake only because the motion capture that they did really grounded, I felt, the characters even after the sort of blue CGI, was added to them. The body language, the facial expressions, all of it being very tight to the actors and the actresses that were playing the characters. Had he not done that, it would not have worked even remotely with what he did with the high frame rates, because they can be very jarring. I do agree with that, especially during the scenes when you're jumping in and out of the water and land. That's where you see the frame rate changes really kind of be a bit jarring. But I do think what he revolutionized with motion capture, and I frankly, I'm excited to see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that eventually come out with the home video release, just based on the bits that have been released online. I mean, he did some really, really amazing things with that motion capture, which is part of what made this film take so long and get so expensive to do.
Well, yeah, it's like, I agree with that, where it's like, yes, the motion capture and making people into these giant blue water creatures and everything like that translates well, and the technology is there, but it's still like it feels less immersive than like just shooting something on location.
Mm-hmm. Carrie brings up a point that I want to know. I want to know if this is going to end up in Flight of Passage.
So it's so funny that you mentioned that.
Yes.
Robert and I's 3-hour drive home, since 400 closed, we talked about this at nauseum.
I know he's pitched to Iger.
And I did watch several interviews and behind the scenes stuff that have indicated that it will.
I think it actually translates. I think they can modify the existing ride to work really, really well with this. I also
Absolutely.
think
Yeah.
that based upon, I don't know Animal Kingdom's footprint, I would give that to Jen for our resident Disney expert. Is there room for a water ride, or is there room for more rides in that part of the park?
So the thing about Walt Disney World, honestly, is if you're asking if there's room for anything anywhere, the answer is yes. The site is massive, and Animal Kingdom out of the 4 parks is the largest one, believe it or not. Doesn't feel like it because the area that guests are actually seeing is smaller, but it is the largest. It's the largest of the 4 parks. I know, but no, there's because like I'm seeing this. I know, but no, I feel like there's easily room. There's always room for them to add. They can move back some of the cast member areas. They could certainly add a water ride, I think.
I don't know what the water ride would look like. I could see how they could like augment or change the current ride to work for this easily, like very
Agreed.
easily.
Frankly, I'd almost rather see them replace the other Avatar ride in the area, which I think is Rivers of Light or something. No, that's not. That's the show. Point is, it's a boring ride and nobody rides it.
Yeah.
Tell
I
us
mean,
how
it's
you really feel.
Yeah.
Like, well, the whole point of the other Avatar ride is that they have this one amazing animatronic at the end.
Yeah.
It is basically just an expo of all the cool stuff they can do with technology. There's no plot to it. You just ride through. I'm like, oh, look, they can make the leaves bounce. That's cool. And then there's a really, really ridiculously seamless animatronic at the end of it when she's working.
And
Yeah.
I do think that is an opportunity, especially with the focus on water
Mhm.
in this film, that they could do that. So it could be either or, but it did sound like, because they brought the cast to Animal Kingdom, they did interviews with them in the Avatar part of the park, and they talked about upcoming changes at the park in relation to the second and eventually third film. So it's
I mean,
possible
there's a
that we'll
kiwi
see that.
margarita, so
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're having this many sequels, we're getting another ride.
Well,
Yeah, I'm sure.
So let's talk about the sequels for a second, for those that don't know, because this this timeline and story is complex. So Avatar 2 started filming in 2017. So the young cast, the kids, started principal motion capture and filming back in 2017. So let's do the math there. The kids were 12 and 13 years old. They're 18 and 21 now, just to put that into perspective. So James Cameron shot all of 2, all of 3, and the first act of the 4th film already. So just so everybody understands where we're at. So the 3rd film's already done. It's ready for 2024, exactly 2 years from now, to come out, and it's completely shot, and he's already shot the first act of 4.
Wait, we have one coming out next year.
It looks like it's
skipping a year?
Yeah, I think it's every other year.
I thought
Based on the interviews, they're saying 2024.
And the movie is far from done with
Well-
how effects driven it is.
So let's
It's not like they're
let's
just
let's
holding it
clarify.
for 2 years.
Let's clarify. It's principal photography and motion capture is done, but we've got all the post work that has to be done into it.
which is like all of it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another interesting conversation to me because, like, it is motion capture. We don't have, like, they did this whole thing about how we have to get these kids before they age out. I'm
Yes.
like, it's like the kids aren't on screen.
Well, but they
So-
are.
But I mean, their mannerisms and stuff, and maybe that is the argument. But like,
Well-
my point being is that they are not like physically on screen. Like, you are animating them to some degree. So I feel like there's some degree of technology that
Yeah.
can be used to help with the passage of time.
Well, so
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of one of the non-Navi characters, so Spider, because he's the one human kid on screen. So the first 2 years of filming number 2 was all motion capture that they did, and then they had him redo the scenes again. All-
I'm sorry, Robert. I clicked on something.
She made it full screen.
That is
I don't
cool.
know how to get Carrie's comment off the screen. Carrie,
But you
I
got
was
it
just
on
trying
the
to look
screen.
at the link. This is our 10th live stream. This is bad.
11.
Sorry,
This is
continue.
the
I-
Eleven.
I
first,
wanted
first
to-
time
11.
we've ever done this.
Um,
Can you send this comment in our Telegram chat so I can pull it up without apparently putting it on the screen for everyone?
I think it's still on the screen.
I'm gonna stop that.
there we go.
Hey.
So
Sorry, continue.
Cameron hasn't really described yet exactly what he was doing, but so for the human character, for the kid who plays Spider, they did 2 years at the very beginning of motion capture. So this was him doing all the scenes with the other characters that are essentially Navi. And then for the latter 2 years, they did all live action shoots for him of the exact same scenes, but he was by himself on the soundstage. So whatever Cameron was doing was taking a combination of live action shooting of the actors and the motion capture and bringing the two together. So, you know, in his interviews, he's talked about he was trying to avoid the Stranger Things effect with the kids. So he wanted to make sure, I think, mostly around Spider, to your point, Emma, versus the other Navi kids, because let's face it, Sigourney Weaver plays a teenager.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, you know, it's not like they couldn't age them up or down with what they're doing with the motion capture and everything else.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty much what they do in the whole video game sphere right now is they have the motion capture, the facial capture, but they're also nowadays, especially for these big, you know, single player story driven games, they're actually going in on these giant blank sound stages and filming the entire everything. They're filming, they're acting it all out, and they're just filming everything and capturing their motions, their movements, all that, and filming it as well.
Yep.
And translating it into a game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's basically the same concept.
Yep. But Cameron felt very strong, obviously, that he wanted to make
Of
sure
course
that,
he did.
that
always
when doesn't he? That he wanted to make sure that he had all of the young cast filmed up into the point where there's an alleged time jump in the fourth film that would catch their ages up to where they are if he were to start filming soon for 4. So he says that he has 7 films mapped out. 2 and 3 are basically done. If he gets the 2 billion mark on number 2, 4 and 5 will be greenlit, and then we wait to see on 6 and 7.
I'm literally Googling James Cameron's age right now.
That's
I don't mean it to be dark, but okay, so he was born in
it is dark.
54.
I mean, damn.
But I mean, it is a question.
like-
So he's 68 right now.
What
right?
are we gonna get first? Are we gonna get Avatar 7, or are we gonna get the next Game of Thrones book?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is George
Well-
R. R. Martin gonna beat him?
I'm gonna go with Avatar 7.
And he mentioned in one of the interviews that he's been doing for Avatar that they're going to do another Terminator film.
Yeah,
So-
I saw
There's
that, yeah.
there's discussions. I mean, I think he just likes to bite off more than he could chew.
Well,
Generally
I also
speaking.
don't think he knows how not to work. So he will
Right.
probably be working well into his late 90s.
Looking at you,
So,
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. It's like literally they don't know how to not work, which
I mean, good shit.
you keep doing great movies, then it keeps
Yeah.
working for everybody. But
And so, I mean, we have Avatars here to stay for many years to come. We all generally enjoyed it. Whether it makes the $2 billion or not, all we can do is sit back and watch as the numbers roll in and see what happens. At the very least, we are going to get the third film. And James Cameron has said that he has set up the shoots that if the third is all that gets approved and it's done at that point, he'll wrap it up in the third film. If not, we've got potentially 6 to 7 films coming out of the franchise.
I
honestly
again,
do not care about that many.
it's a lot.
It's
Like
a lot.
I said that
gonna
about
have
Star
to-
Wars at one point, though.
I could comfortably see with the current cast and storyline up to the 4th max.
Like, are we gonna have a Land Before Time situation where, like, after number 2, people just forget what's going on?
It's a hard thing to take that far into the
Another
future,
17.
right? Because there are, and again, we're staying clear of spoilers here, but like this film obviously does feel like the way that things kind of conclude, it feels like a setup for the next film.
I mean,
Not
yeah,
a
there's
Mercy
setup.
Fellowship
Hobbit.
rings,
Hobbit.
right? Like it is very much kind of like that Lord of the Rings approach to it, right?
Yep.
Which I think works well when it's like a set number of films.
It's a trilogy.
It's a
Right.
trilogy. Like if you're saying 7 films, that's very like
I don't know
there's
where
nothing to compare it to.
I don't know where he's trying
And
to
when
go
it's-
with it that far.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's honestly, these movies feel more like tech demos than actual like films
Yes.
and stories. You see
Yes.
it for the visuals, you're watching it for the technology. You're not watching it for the story. I don't care. I honestly didn't care about the story, Avatar 2 and stuff. So it's like, I don't care about 3, 4, 7.
I mean, we didn't care about the first one either
It's
because,
like-
frankly, it's sci-fi 101. It's a
Yeah.
very basic story. It's Dances
All right,
with Wolves.
Doug has
Okay.
something to say.
No, I have a couple of coworkers. By the way, I run a creative team at a Fortune 25 corporation. It's a bunch of nerds. And a couple of them did see it already, and they said that it is basically Flight of Passage on steroids. And that kind of worries me a little bit. Like from what you were just saying, Matt, about how it's all so centralized on the technology and on the experiential aspect of it instead of on the narrative and the story. That worries me a little bit, especially with like when you do motion smoothing, like you guys were talking about a while ago. I wanted to say comments about that, but like when it's something that's not human, like the Na'vi, totally fine because we don't register that the same way in our brains. But the motion smoothing thing, that kind of soap opera effect, I equate to like the uncanny valley. Like there's a thing that clicks in my brain that's like, this is not okay. I don't feel good about this.
Yeah.
And I've realized that with like motion smoothing, my brain does not compute motion the same way. Like I don't see things perfectly in that level of frame rate when somebody moves quickly.
Exactly.
They are a blur. There is a depth of field that I'm going to observe with my own eyes. And when I see that done on screen in a way that is not natural to my own vision, especially like in a stressed out situation, a human being is not going to see every frame in like a 75 plus frames per second, rate, which is not how we operate. So I'm a little concerned that it's going to be like a really visually amazing, beautiful thing. And I'm going to like walk out of the movie being like, wait, did I have a fast pass for this? Like, what
Exactly.
I mean, the frame rate is a legit concern at the 48 frames that they're doing versus the standard 24. The story, in my opinion, I don't think the story's that bad. I think the problem is you have to look at the story.
It's better than the first.
It is, but you
It's
have
not a bad story.
No.
It's
It
just
is,
not an
honestly,
amazing story.
It's
Right.
better than the first, but it is at the same time, it's also the first, but in water.
it's a low bar, but
The
If
first
you-
one is, Fern Gully in the forest. This is Fern Gully in the ocean.
right. And he's made the comments that he wants to visit each essentially like ecosystem on Pandora. So we've done forest, we've done water. You
And
could
then
add
Fire
smoke-
Nation attacked.
Yeah.
Miles
Is the
will
last
get-
one,
yeah.
like, is the last one going to be the airbender?
I'm
Right.
thinking Fire Nation.
Fire Nation.
Fire Nation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get the
who
they'll go
knows?
ice. Like
I think
Avatar: The First Airbender.
so. Yeah, I mean, like
I would tell
James
people
Cameron could do
Yes,
whatever
I'm here
movie.
for it.
And
I would tell people to focus on the longer game as far as the story goes. It feels like this story again, basically the first movie in water, but slightly better. Again, low bar, but it's the long game.
If it takes you 7 movies to tell a coherent story, you should not be telling that story.
Well, and that's what we don't know is like
Yes,
Like,
I fully support Matt on this.
I do not tell me like, oh yes, this series gets good after 6 hours.
No, because
That's when it starts to get good.
Yeah,
then
Lost.
it's an FX mini series or something, and you should have done it in a different medium. Like,
Yeah.
and then it would have, well, even then, like, so we get to end of 7 movies. It's going to be 21 hours
right.
of.
Well, and again,
Cameron,
if you get to the end of the third one and we assume that the existing story arc that he's built from these two end in that one, the question is, okay, what is 4, 5, 6, and 7? What are we covering at that point? What is the new ground that he's trying to go for? Is one of those a prequel, right? Is one of those a prequel?
See, and at this point, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's going to be a prequel trilogy where we found out the origin story of the big bad from. Oh wait, no, that's still Star Wars.
Oh, that's Star Wars, yeah. Right. So
It's going to really get into the politics of the Na'vi.
Yeah, the Na'vi Senate and yeah.
Yeah.
There's-
So I
I
don't know what he's trying to do with it, honestly, but I
it's not a bad story. My problem is it's not an original story.
No.
And the core concept of every film, for me personally, effects are a layer that come on top of something, right? At your core, you have to have a really remarkable story. This was an okay story.
but that seems to be a general
Remarkable technology on top of it.
and that seems to be a general issue and trend with Hollywood right now is the lack of originality in a lot of the stories that we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of things rehashed in different environments, different settings, but it's the same story. And the question is, are we out of fresh ideas, or have we not been willing to put the money behind the fresh ideas?
I think the fresh ideas are too risky. Or that is Hollywood's perception of the fresh ideas. Because
I mean,
other things are repeats / rehashings of previous things that have made money.
What's risky is Disney betting on a 7-movie franchise with James Cameron.
For sure.
For Avatar that took 13 years for the sequel to come out.
Honestly, I don't think that's risky. I think that's less risky than a lot of other things because, like, I will admit, as bad as his stories are, he makes money, you know?
Oh, no.
Before Avatar, there was Titanic, so, like...
Titanic wasn't a bad story.
But no, like, no, the whole... No. The whole...
Also wasn't
Disney
a
betting
good
on
story.
James Cameron. Like,
Right.
Disney betting on James Cameron. Like, I think that's one of the safest bets.
That's
regardless
fair.
of how good or bad Avatar is, you know, betting on James Cameron, that's going to be a safe bet.
I think that there is a trajectory that you see with anything that is a sequel where your first film makes a ton of money. Your second film makes a little less money.
And then it just kind of...
It just like, it nosedives. So 7 movies is like, that's like a significant...
I mean, The Force Awakens did a ton of money.
Yeah, and you know,
Star Wars doesn't count in any of this. I just want to say that.
What do you mean Star Wars doesn't count?
It counts. Come on.
It doesn't count.
Star Wars always counts.
It's different.
The Force Awakens was the 7th film?
Assuming that James is not trying to invent some new technology for the next couple of films with Avatar.
Oh no, he definitely will be.
Let's assume he doesn't.
Let's assume that by the time we get to the 7th film, it's a 4 or 5 hour movie.
We're all
Well,
dead.
wait. I mean,
And the characters can physically touch you.
Yes.
he revolutionized filming underwater. Is he going to revolutionize filming like in the midst of active fire and then like through soil and then?
I mean, Tom Cruise has him beat with filming in space because I think that's what Tom Cruise is going to do at some point.
That's true.
In the near future, so
funny that you bring that up. So Dark Horse did a prequel graphic comic, 3 parts that were lead up to the film for the sequel, and it was based on his actual script. And there was a space battle scene that ended up getting cut from the film. That is in the comic. So you almost had Avatar in space.
I'm sure they'll go there.
Maybe.
I'm sure they will. They have 7 films.
They'll probably end with the Na'vi invading Earth and taking it over, and
Planet of the Na'vi.
And in 20 years, we can come back to this podcast and reference, be like, we called it way back then.
Yeah. So as you can see,
Christmas movies,
right?
Isn't that why we're all here?
This is our holiday episode.
I was here.
TDLR, don't bet against James Cameron. It's going to make a shit ton of money. The story's not revolutionary, and now we're going to talk holiday movies.
Wait, T what?
TDLR, too long didn't read.
No,
TLDR. Yeah, that one.
You just pulled an IMBD.
See, this is why I just went up to here because it's funny.
No, it's funny. It's funny because Robert sent me a text message the other night where he used that, and I was like, I don't know this acronym. And I
did I autocorrect it wrong? Maybe I did.
TDLR.
No, she asked me. She's like, "What does TDLR mean?" And I was like, "TDLR." I was like, "You mean TLDR?" And she's like, "No, it says TDLR." And I'm like, "Well, it's too long. Didn't read, but those words go in a certain order."
Didn't long read.
Yeah.
Robert, high five.
Bless your heart, Robert.
All right.
So Carrie mentioned Spirited. I have
That
not
is
watched it yet.
Apple,
and I really
the Apple
want to.
TV.
They never got it working in my account, so I did not see it.
It is supposedly the highest, like let me get this right. It is like Apple's like highest watched or most viewed movie.
Please tell me there's an aviation gin spotlight.
I'm sure there's some sort of
just like
gin,
wasn't
though.
it
Carrie, is it?
Red Notice?
Is there any aviation gin?
Carrie, would you like to come on our stream?
Live stream?
No,
No.
that was a hard.
No.
Carrie, I can send you a link if you would like. Sure.
The no is to the aviation gin reference,
Oh, okay.
not the.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's what I am assuming,
I'm
You're correct,
Carrie,
Matt.
Scary.
No
check your
aviation.
Telegram.
and that she doesn't hate us.
I was like, that was an emphatic no for joining
I know, right?
the stream.
Can you put her right in the middle?
I don't know where she's going to land. We've never had
Dun,
5
dun,
Yeah,
people.
because it's gonna be asymmetrical now. Let's see what happens.
It's gonna
We've got 5 people.
No, we had 5 with Dan.
Yeah.
be good.
Oh yeah.
How did that display? I don't
remember.
that was
Stacked, I think.
years ago.
We will find out shortly.
We will
Find out. Carrie, where are
Okay.
you?
if Carrie
We
clicks
are-
on the link I sent her.
We are going to have a battle
She's probably suddenly like,
on what is
"Where's
the
my Christmas
best
sweater?"
Christmas/holiday film of the season.
And why is it Muppet
There we
Christmas
go.
Carol?
There we go.
And why is it what?
It's like, and why is it Muppet Christmas Carol?
Carrie!
Did that work?
Yes, you're
you're
live.
welcome.
Okay.
You're here.
Welcome to
You're
Nerd
welcome.
Herd Live, Carrie.
I didn't even look. I didn't even put anything on. I don't even know which camera's on. Oh, it's
There
this
it is.
camera.
Straight in front of you.
I'm like, which screen am I on?
And this is how you know we're live.
And this is how you know.
Well,
Welcome to our
Oh,
podcast.
Okay, wait. So who's seen Spirited? I'm gonna switch
I
to
don't
that.
I think you're the only one.
Think it's just you.
It is so stupid cute. I actually can't believe it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm
Oh.
going to switch to the other camera. It's a better. My the Mac camera is so much better than my little Razor. Yeah. So cute. Like I had to kind of convince Steven to watch it, only in the sense that.
Steven's your husband for anyone.
Sorry,
who doesn't
Steven
know.
is my husband. So it's kind of, it popped up as one of the, must watch for us. It was rated at like 98%. We're going to like it kind of thing. But we go between our different shows. And this was, it's Ryan Reynolds, it's Will Ferrell, but then there's all these other just amazing characters, not to mention the dancers. I mean, they're phenomenal. And so you're basically watching, like, I kind of want to see it on Broadway. Like, I really do. And
so it's a musical.
it's a musical.
It is a musical.
So, and it even makes fun of that at the beginning. It's like, oh God, we're singing again. Those kinds of moments
Nice.
where it's like, really, this is happening. And so at first, Steven's not he will go to musicals, but that's not like a default. But it is just, I'm a huge fan of Scrooged. We both are. We've already watched it this season. And it's kind of just a retelling of Scrooged. But it's done in such a way that just everybody who has their parts through it just does a phenomenal job. I would say the only criticism I have of it, the only criticism is that it is slightly too long. There are some things in the middle that could be taken out to bring it down under 2 hours, because you've got to watch through the credits, because some of the ending dance sequences are phenomenal. And so it takes it to well over 2 hours. But
Was James Cameron involved?
James Cameron,
That would be 3 hours.
that would be 3 hours.
with 2 sequels.
Yeah, but no, it's so cute. It's so cute. It's so heartwarming, and it's really just kind of like Scrooged. And you go from, I feel like at this point everybody's seen Scrooge. So it's like you go from
Yeah.
a character who is stapling antlers to mice into somebody who is trying to figure out, that there's more to life than doing that. So, and it's kind of like that, and it's a beautiful story, and it's done so well. And both Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell play pretty different characters than I think a lot of people are used to seeing, which is also kind of nice. You go into it thinking, okay, fine, it's, this is what I'm expecting from these characters, from these actors. And even if you love them, you're still expecting a certain role. And I don't think that's really what they did. So
Yeah, that's interesting because Will Ferrell kind of grates on me nowadays.
Well,
Yeah.
Especially Ryan Reynolds. Like I feel like after Deadpool, like everything has been Deadpool-esque.
He was like that before Deadpool though. I don't know. Do you guys remember him in Blade
a little
Trinity?
bit.
You remember him in Blade Trinity?
Oh, and Blade.
He's like
He's
that.
gone
then.
hard since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Green Lantern.
yeah.
Well, I know we have our resident Will Ferrell fan, Jen.
Yeah.
I just say that as a joke because I know she actively.
If
Wait a minute.
I was like,
looks
what?
could melt your
Those
computer.
were daggers.
That was
Those
Jen.
were
But
daggers.
I'm not unlike that. So I still
mean-
haven't seen Stranger Fiction?
Stranger Than Fiction.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Stranger Than Fiction, which people have told me will make all the difference in my Will Ferrell
And Jen's like, nope.
Nope, haven't seen that. Haven't seen Elf.
I was about to say,
Well,
okay.
Elf
No,
is Will
speaking,
Ferrell.
we're going into best holiday films.
do
My
it.
pick is Elf. Elf is like the best.
Wow.
holiday. I love Elf.
You can have your own thing.
I watch it every
Yes, Jen.
every year.
Yes, Jen.
every Christmas. Like Elf is my holiday film, and I will fight you all to the death. it's from the director of Iron Man.
Is
And-
that
And it's
really?
starting
Is that supposed to? Does that hold?
Is that
Really? Does that hold water? It's kind of like,
cold
well,
water? It's got Ralphie. It's got Ralphie.
is that Ralphie?
It's got Ralphie. It's
so
got
does
Peter
the Christmas
Dinklage.
Story sequel, and I don't know that works.
I know Emma hates Zoe Deschanel, but
I don't hate. So okay, it is a long
Ew.
story. What is the acronym? The long story.
TLDR.
TLDR.
Too long, didn't read.
Oh, Emma.
That is my thing with Zoe Deschanel. I don't hate her. It's just a long story.
It's
I-
just a long story.
I think that Zoe Deschanel understood a certain role for herself, or a certain role that like a lot of people liked her in, and I think she overplayed it. For me personally, because I got very tired of it very quickly. If she did roles outside of like that specific typecast, I could be here for it. Much like Will Ferrell. And maybe, I don't know,
I'm-
Jen's shaking her head because I
Yeah.
haven't seen Stranger
I
Things.
kind of really want Jen to see, like, I'm not going to tell you to watch Elf, right? Knowing you don't like Will Ferrell, don't watch Elf.
No, that's like
Yeah.
110%.
No,
But-
Elf
yeah,
is
it
Will
is.
But
Ferrell.
I will tell you, I would love for you to watch Spirited and to just, because it's definitely, I mean, Will Ferrell is like, it's not like he's a minor character, but
He's in the lead.
yeah. But I really do think that even somebody who doesn't like Will Ferrell would like this movie. So I will say that.
I'll
One more
give it a
plug for
shot.
Spirited.
Jen is very hesitant.
I really want to see Spirited. I'll watch anything with Brian.
I'm
Reynolds
intrigued.
in it.
Yeah.
We can watch it after the Bacon Day party.
Yes.
That's assuming we make it all the way through the Bacon Day party.
Who's gonna make it through Bacon Day party? Nobody's gonna make it through.
We're making people leave early for
What's
something else.
early?
Like
You're
10.
okay. Well, it starts at 7:30.
Right. So let's
She
say
falls
9:30. We get
asleep at
people out and watch it.
So Emma's like 8. Be done by 8.
I'm like, we need to talk about the timeline of said party. No, I think for me, I would say so. I have two movies that I really love. I do love Christmas Vacation, even though Chevy Chase doesn't necessarily age well in terms
No.
of
Yeah.
things
Anything?
recently.
In terms of the person that he
The
is.
person has not aged well in terms of just his
It's a great
perception.
film.
But I honestly, to me, I think the more recent one, not really recent, Love Actually still.
Oh, Love Actually is still, yeah. That
Jen hates
until
it. Look at her
Spirited
face.
popped
I
up.
love it.
Yeah.
Love Actually
Scrooge-
is just depressing as all get out.
No,
It's not.
I mean,
It's
not
a
if you make it to
beautiful
the
story.
end. If you make
it
it
has
to
a
the end,
happy
it's happy.
ending.
Not for everybody.
Not
Yeah.
for everybody.
Maybe
For, like-
maybe Matt's experience
For like
was
a
the way
quarter
my
of the characters, it's happy, but a lot of them, they're just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is a horrible Christmas.
Well, statistically,
what was that word?
What was it? Yeah.
Statistically,
What was that?
I've had like 7 Fanbolt drinks, so
the fan boats.
To
The
be
bolt.
fair, she can
It's
blame
only
the
me.
drinks.
It hasn't been that.
Emma is totally bolted right now. Okay.
Totally bolted. I'm not good with words normally. Like, let's be clear, my
IMDb.
pronunciation skills
Let's,
are
let's
not.
start naming some actors, Emma.
No, let's
Some
not.
celebrities.
do that.
No, but Love Actually, honestly, if you watch the whole thing through, it is an absolutely beautiful movie. I love it. I
Agreed.
would say if you don't watch it, so I had never seen the ending of Braveheart because my mom just turned it off and she was like, "That's the end of the movie," and I never saw
No, it's
the
not.
end of Braveheart. So Braveheart was not a horrible movie to me if you stop it at a certain point in time.
Are you about to say you have to stop Love Actually at a certain point in time?
No, I'm saying that if you do,
Are you saying
it's not as
Braveheart is a
beautiful.
Christmas movie?
Ah,
That
That's the next discussion.
wow.
No.
Wow.
I mean, I still like the gift wrapping scene from Love Actually is still one of my favorite scenes,
It's
like of
so
all
great.
time. It's just
Yeah.
it's perfect. It's a perfect scene. And yes, the whole Andrew Lincoln sign thing is adorable.
Oh,
Like
so
I feel
cute.
like so many scenes are good on their own. But when they're taking like in context of the whole movie, it's like
But if I watch the movie, I
yeah,
don't really
you're
think
like,
so.
oh yes, I want you to cheat on your husband with me. Like, forget about your husband. You should be with me.
Wait, Emma, what did the sign say?
Perfect.
It was perfect.
Hold on, wait. I gotta add my trademark to it, which is the
A smiley
expected
face?
Perfect.
smiles.
I can't say that I've actually seen Love Actually.
What? Not acceptable. All right,
Wow.
we're changing that
All
next
right.
week.
So,
All right, what's your Christmas movie, Robert?
family tradition is Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
And it just speaks too much to how my family tends to be with things. And
Who's-
Vegas Vacation was another
Are
one
you
too.
are you Uncle Eddie?
No, I was not Uncle Eddie. But yeah, definitely Christmas Vacation is the family movie. Yeah, I mean that's really the one traditionally that we watch every year. Sometimes the Godfather trilogy, and that one tends to now hear me out.
That's
Hear me out.
that's a long
It is.
Christmas time.
It is.
Going.
So hear me out, because this oscillates between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's usually like marathoned on AMC or whatever,
Right.
During the
Mhm.
holiday period, and so we'll have it on throughout the day on Christmas Day to watch, and it's something that my dad and I like to watch. My mom likes it to a point, but it's more of my dad and I's thing than anything else. But it is something we typically watch during the Christmas time frame.
Gotcha.
Don't know that I
guess
would
you
call
could
it a
watch
Christmas
the whole
movie.
thing
but
in a whole day. I
You
mean, you
can.
could. I mean, it's at
Could.
what? It's probably just under.
frankly,
an
we don't
hour.
count. Frankly, we don't count the third movie. It's the quest for more money.
Oh, well.
I mean,
but you can't.
I know
no.
we do. We watch it, but we don't like the third film. To be fair.
Okay.
Why don't you just watch Lord of the Rings instead? I mean,
Wow.
that's what I do.
Well,
yeah.
Me-
That's a whole weekend affair.
yeah.
It
Me,
is.
You're
Yeah,
talking about
I
the
know, Matt.
extended
All the versions.
editions.
Me
Yeah.
personally, Lord of the Rings or the original Star Wars trilogy, yes, I'll watch those over the holidays. If I'm thinking of what I would do with my family, they have zero interest in any of those.
Granted.
So,
Jen.
All right, Jen, make your
Make my
argument.
case.
What it is.
Make your case
Also, to Robert's
For-
point,
for Muppet Treasure Island.
that too. Okay, don't hate on Muppet Treasure Island. So
Muppets
what my
Most
family
Wanted.
usually does, we'll watch all of the claymation Rankin Bass
Nice.
movies, shorts, whatever they are. And on Christmas Day itself, we'll usually just throw on BBC America and watch whatever Doctor Who marathon they're usually doing,
Nice.
because our family is that kind of nerd.
Nice.
But it is not Christmas for me until I have watched The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Which
Because it's wonderful. It is one of the more faithful adaptations of A Christmas Carol, Muppets notwithstanding.
It is quite lovely.
Yeah.
I may have to add
It's-
that this year.
Yeah, it's the first Muppet movie after the death of Jim Henson. And it's really clear that like it's just a labor of love, the whole thing, and I love it so much. The songs are amazing, even the one that got deleted and put back in and deleted and put back in. It's not a great song, okay, but it makes the scene.
Which one?
Why
is
did it
that?
get deleted and put back in and then deleted and put back in?
Oh, so there's a song in towards the end of The Ghost of Christmas Past. It's called When Love Is Gone. And it is the sappy, sad love ballad. And initially, so it was released in theaters, but the director hated it. So it was taken out for most video releases. And then they couldn't put it back in because they lost the footage for the longest time. Like they lost the original footage.
Wow.
It's only in the last couple of years that they found it and restored it. And now, just as of like a couple of weeks ago, if you go on Disney Plus into the extras of A Muppet Christmas Carol, you can watch the full version, which includes that song.
I don't know that we've seen it with that song.
I haven't. I don't think I've seen it with that song.
It's so the song itself is only okay, but watching Michael Caine's reaction and him even singing, watching his emotions go through the whole thing, because it's when his relationship with his at the time fiance is ending, because we know Scrooge is a bachelor, but it's when his relationship with Belle is ending, and Michael Caine's emotions going through that scene are just amazing. Like his face just, it hurts your heart. And then Rezo cries. So, it's suddenly you understand why the Muppets are crying at the end. So,
Aww.
It's like, I don't want to be depressed by a Christmas movie.
well, you're not depressed by the end.
That's why I love Elf. Elf is just so
though,
happy.
I do actually think it's funny that nobody said Die Hard.
I was
And-
going to.
Weird.
That's the next conversation.
I was
was-
waiting for.
It was going to be our next
Well,
our next
so,
thing.
so our
There's
next segment is, well, I guess we kind of blended them, but
Is
Not
Die Hard a
Christmas.
Christmas movie?
Christmas movies.
Well, because Christmas movies, because I always bring up, when people bring up Die Hard being a Christmas movie, I'm not discounting that Die Hard has a lot of Christmas in it and
Yeah.
it's at Christmas, but so does The Ref. And The Ref is a very, very funny movie. So,
Ref?
The Ref.
I don't know if I know this
Are-
one. The Ref?
Are
No
you
idea.
actually saying
Like
with
the referee,
Ref?
the ref. What?
The Ref.
Like the Ref?
With the hell's his name? Well, it's got Spacey, but it's got Dennis.
Oh,
it's
okay.
mainly
Okay,
Dennis
yeah.
Leary,
Dennis
Yeah.
Leary. Okay, now I know this movie. Yes.
Kristen
Yes.
Baranski.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's
Gotcha.
Okay.
totally Christmas. So I mean, again, that's like it skirts the line. Is it actually a Christmas? I'm not discounting. I get into this
Exactly.
argument about Die Hard being a Christmas movie. I'm not saying it is
Christmas
or
says it's
isn't.
not. So
Die Hard is a
And-
Christmas movie.
I mean, sure.
If Die Hard is, then so is The Ref.
Ref.
Okay.
And so, are a whole bunch
my-
of movies that take place.
Mine
at Christmas.
is The Green Knight. I just watched that.
okay.
Again, that takes place on Christmas Day. The whole it's called a Christmas game.
Yes.
Mhm.
Basically where,
Yes.
you know,
Okay. That's the A24.
Sir
yeah.
Gawain, you know,
Yeah.
King Arthurian legend movie. that takes place on Christmas Day. Like that's the whole main focus of it.
Yeah.
Where he fights the knight. So like that's a Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm. I still debate whether or not this one is actually a Christmas movie, just because of the effect it had on Christmas music at the time. Is Meet Me in St. Louis.
I could also see that.
Yeah, because I mean,
Okay.
most of the movie does not happen at Christmas, but it is also the first recorded version of "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," which is my favorite Christmas song.
Oh,
So
there you
Yeah.
go.
So
It counts.
and
mine-
the correct lyrics to it.
so I had two technically.
The
The runner-
depressing anime doesn't count, Robert.
No.
That's
no.
Robert. Keep it off the list.
If it's anime.
Well, first off, Matt, that's a TV series, not a movie, and we were talking about movies, so let's get the categories right. No.
Just had to bring it up.
So I would argue that the first few Harry Potter films kind of fit that category,
They
right?
do.
Yeah.
As a runner-up. And I've actually been marathoning them as I've been wrapping Christmas presents the last 2 days. So there you go.
Nice.
But the primary one for me that registers as Christmas, that's a non-Christmas movie, Chronicles of Narnia, The Witch and Wardrobe.
Yep.
Yep.
Could also see that.
I
Well,
haven't
I
seen
think
that
it's
one
actually-
in a long time.
Yeah.
Plays a pretty big role in it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Well, and that's again, how much of a
but in a
role
different way.
right. It's kind of like with Die Hard. How much of a role does Christmas play in it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the case of Die Hard, Christmas plays a big role in the ref, plays a huge role. Like the entire sequence of events that happens in the movie would not happen if not for Christmas. So how do you draw that line between,
Yeah.
It's not, yes, anything can happen to John McClane. They've proved that. But it's how much of what happens in Die Hard is specifically because of Christmas. Doug and Emma,
All right. Let's go to Doug and Emma.
Yeah.
we got to go to
What
Doug
are
and
your
Emma.
Christmas, non-Christmas movies?
I have a good one. Actually, okay, so on the previous segment, White Christmas, old school 1950s,
Yeah.
Danny
Not like
Kaye, Bing Crosby,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rosemary
Yeah.
Clooney, and Vera Allen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that one, like my dad was really into when I was younger, and I gotta say, just like it's an old school movie. It's from the 1950s. It's the movie itself is set in immediately post World War II,
Mhm.
Right.
late 1940s, and it is an exceptional example of skill from old school Hollywood. Dancing, singing, acting, all of it combined into one. Not any sort of like, oh, we can gloss over that in post. There's none of that. Like all of it is almost like live stage acting, and it's really, really excellent. And the singing is real. The dancing is real.
It's all real.
As good.
Mhm.
It's
My
super
parents
good.
watch that every year. In fact, they're going to a $2 screening at the Old Theater in downtown Canton tomorrow night for it.
Aw.
Wow.
Heck yeah, man.
That's
Right, so-
amazing.
That one's really good. It's also super romantic, which is great for like the not just the romanticism in itself, but like it's also really good for like the Christmas spirit.
Mhm.
But my offbeat one would be Gremlins. Gremlins.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, that's
It's
another one,
Christmas.
That's a
right?
fun one. Yeah.
That's another one that could go into the exact same category of not actually a Christmas movie, but Christmas is the onus for the movie, and therefore it's
It's a
on that
Christmas
line
movie. Yeah.
of Die Hard and The Ref and all these movies that it's like what defines it as a Christmas movie?
Exactly. Emma?
Oh no, mine are the
Dina?
same. As, well, actually,
Well, no, your non-Christmas movie.
oh, my non-Christmas movie.
Your non-Christmas movie.
Die Hard
Whatever
2.
we're called.
No,
Die Hard.
Die Hard,
Die Hard.
Die Hard,
Where's
Die
the-
Harder, Die
I'm
Harder in
going to the
Russia.
You've Got Mail person.
Oh, you've got
Oh, you got
Is that a
mail.
Christmas?
Good.
Oh, yeah.
it's
yeah.
not. That one's not.
Now I don't remember, but while you were sleeping, does that have Christmas in it? Because if so, that's my pick.
While you were sleeping, it's not a Christmas movie.
He was sleeping for a hot second. Christmas might have been in it. I'm just saying.
Oh.
No, Christmas
Emma.
at some point.
Emma.
By Emma, by that explanation, Avatar is a Christmas movie because by the time we get to the seventh film, we will have had 22 Christmases. Okay.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think for me, like the childhood Emma defines it as Christmas Vacation, and then like teenage onward Emma describes it as or defines it as Love Actually. So,
I think it's interesting that nobody has said Nightmare Before Christmas, because that's one where it's like, is it a Christmas movie or is it a Halloween movie?
It's both.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's one that Steven would chime in, and my husband would chime in and say that, it's one that we have to watch during both holidays.
Both, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it gets watched a lot.
I mean, it's got
watch it twice.
the best Christmas and holiday movie of all time,
But-
not to be biased, is Holiday.
I was about to say,
Right.
Matt, you may have just stolen my thunder just a little, because we have had so many movies filmed in Atlanta and in Georgia that make Christmas happen year round.
Oh yeah.
Like you think about Hawkeye. On Disney Plus. They turned a parking lot around the corner from here into the Christmas tree lot to just plow through. And it just constantly happens. They did it for they do it constantly, and it's amazing to just see Christmas just show up in July.
Oh yeah. I mean, we filmed Holiday in the dead heat of summer.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's like, oh my God, that was so hot.
Yeah. And you had to wear that suit with that.
I had to wear that suit.
a white suit.
Thankfully, it was
a
a
white
white
suit.
suit. So like it wasn't absorbing the heat. It was reflecting it.
You were phenomenal in that, by the way.
Matt, you'll be happy to know that at Thanksgiving, my mom actually asked, like, so what other movies has Matt been in?
They're very invested in your career.
Nothing.
Aww.
I got a short film coming up. So
Have
Dude,
you?
no, I
have you-
told them about the DMZ and everything, about how like I was like I
Oh.
legit didn't know
forgot
you
about
would
that.
actually.
And see, to go back to what we were talking about earlier about people not remembering.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there are some stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I filmed in that stuff, or it's like I worked in that thing. Or even with us, I'm sure there are interviews that we've probably done where it's like, oh yeah, I've interviewed that person.
Oh, totally.
At one
Totally.
point, where it's like you just
And
forget.
you forget. Yeah, you do.
I don't know. Do you forget when you had to spend that long on a set? It's not like to me, I'm like, you're not just in there when you film.
It depends. It depends, like if you can like make like a specific connection.
Yeah.
He's
So like
probably
with
not gonna forget
like
Jungle
with-
Cruise, right?
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna forget Jungle Cruise because that's like I'm in the full body makeup. I'm not gonna forget Holiday because of the whole, Kristen
Right.
Chenoweth and stuff. But like I had forgotten I was in the what is it? The Impractical Jokers movie.
Oh yeah.
Like I had
I
forgotten
didn't
about
even
that.
know this.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Have you seen it? What part are you in?
I'm near the end of it where they're at the club with Paula Abdul, who is another tiny person.
Tiny person.
Yeah.
She is so tiny.
See this,
But,
Emma. This is where you need the transition graphic. The more
But
you
Matt,
know.
what you've got to get on, and I
No.
said this on Twitch
Not
before you
prepared.
guys brought me on. Let me just tell you, you need to get on Megalopolis.
Oh,
You've got to
okay.
get on Megalopolis.
I've seen a few things about that.
I've covered
It's-
some of it on
it's-
Campbell.
It's Coppola's next big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love that it's listed as an indie flick, but it's only an indie flick because Coppola is self-funding it. So, because of that, it is technically an independent film. But it is, they've already had. I mean, I can't even think of how many. I know Aubrey Plaza and Adam Driver have definitely
Adam
been here a
Driver,
lot
Forrest
more.
Whitaker,
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Voight, Lawrence Fishburne. I got you.
Yeah, Forrest
A
Whitaker.
lot of people.
It's, I mean,
A lot of
Hoffman.
people.
It's so all the casting calls, but honestly, Matt, you need to get on it. Just
There was one. I was.
Is that filming here?
They reached out. I was
It's
too
here.
tall. I was
it's
too
here.
tall
It's
for
here
it.
now through March.
Yeah. There was one they were looking for a stand-in, Hispanic, but they wanted 5'9".
No.
That's interesting
like,
because
way too tall.
IMDb notes it as being a modern
I-
city, but in the origins of ancient Rome.
You did that
Wait.
intentionally, didn't you?
Wait.
No,
what did you say?
she did it.
No,
No,
she didn't.
You did it intentionally.
Whatever. Oh,
Wait, how did you phrase it again?
IMDb. Robert, you're in the same boat as me with your acronyms, so don't even.
Listen. I got
Doug is so
TLDR.
happy.
I got TLDR wrong once. You've repeated it over and over and over.
Oh
and
no,
over and over.
IMBD is my thing. IMDb, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I am DB.
DB database.
Data.
No.
Database.
Internet
Database.
Movie Database.
I'm gonna say it like
Base
that. every
data.
time. Internet Movie Database.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do it like that. Now you guys are all gonna be super annoyed at the fact that I say the whole thing out. But modern city and the origins of ancient Rome. So it's interesting that it's shooting in Atlanta. After a devastating disaster, an architect wants to rebuild New York City as a utopia. Also
Right.
interesting to set in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But they can make Atlanta
I mean,
anything.
We've
So
been in New York a few
It is
times.
set
we
in
have.
It
We
is set in. Yeah, it's set in New York, but it's pretty much all here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's
I
good
feel
to
like
know.
this has been our longest live
yeah.
stream.
Oh yeah.
Like we're at
We got it
140
2 hours.
minutes.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Probably because you brought me in and I can't stop talking, and now my
No, I mean
No,
we spent
we
an
spent a
enormous
good
amount
enough
of
time
a
on
lot of
Avatar.
time
Avatar,
talking
yeah.
Yeah,
about
Avatar went a long time.
But isn't that really appropriate?
It is.
We talked
It
a
is.
long
It
time.
is. It
We
is.
still
about
got-
a 3 hour and
We
12
still
minute
got
movie.
an hour and 20 minutes to catch up to James
Yeah.
Cameron. So
So
go.
let's dive in. No, let's not.
Oh, no. Well, we gotta talk about what's happening tomorrow.
Yes. Doug and I have finished our drinks, but
Do you have a graphic? Do you have a graphic to share with viewers, or
Are we gonna share the graphic?
no, I do not want another one. I can handle another one. You can go make yourself one. I'm not drinking anymore. I will say the drink that Fanbolt is contributing to this next conversation is like it's a strong drink. Give me a second. I'll pull up the graphic. I'm working on it. working on it.
I'll briefly explain what we're doing. It's a virtual pub crawl, so to speak, and each of our sites are going to unveil a branded or a brand oriented drink that each of us have concocted. It's going to try to incorporate brand colors where it can, and also the personality of the brand. So Matt has one for Shakefire, Emma for Fanbolt, which you have seen repeatedly tonight,
and seen its effects.
and seen its effects. And then, unfortunately or fortunately for mine, my logo is black and white, so it's not very colorful. I am not making a black and white drink, but mine will be galactic in nature and color changing.
Boom, boom.
Cool.
I just want to say that this whole conversation about quickly showing a graphic, StreamYard does not allow me to easily show photos. So I have to convert this into a PDF.
Yeah, I'm liking watching this on multiple screens here, where she's like, "Okay, I need to make this."
Yeah, I should have thought about this before our thing tonight, but I did not. So
TLDR, we weren't prepped.
Oh, Robert, you're in it with me. You're in it with me.
Internet Movie Database.
Give me just a second. And I will share.
So what is
Internet
so
Movie Database.
Emma's drink is called the Bolt
The
after
Bolt.
Fanbolt. Mine is called the Flame after
Oh.
Shakefire. Robert,
And-
what is yours called? After 3F by Space?
It's
the Galaxy? Do you have a name?
The
uh,
Galaxy.
I'm gonna have
Galaxy's
to.
Edge.
I'm gonna
Is that
have
a copyright infringement?
But
Probably.
Samsung might have
I will
They might own
issue with that.
Galaxy.
I will go with Galactic Mule.
the Galactic Mule. I can see that image right now.
Yeah.
Too bad I can't see the image that Emma is trying to pull up.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost
Hi,
Carrie.
Carrie.
See ya. And Emma is frozen. Emma and Doug are frozen. So
Yeah.
Bye, Emma.
They're frozen. Should we start singing? Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
oh my god. Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Technically, that's a summer movie.
It is, but we could argue that would qualify as a Christmas movie too.
Oh, we could.
I mean, did it happen?
Wait,
around
where did
Christmas?
Carrie go?
Carrie
Hey, welcome back
dropped
to the
out
party.
or left?
Did she just leave?
I do
She
not
dropped
know.
out. I don't know whether or not it was intentional.
Okay.
Nope.
There
She's
she
back.
is.
Oh, she's
Not
back.
No. I was
Yeah, not-
the whole time. I could still hear you guys, but it was just everything was spinning.
Ooh.
back.
it might have been my fault.
I think Carrie's tied to our connection. So.
No, I just have so many tabs open, and I've gotten good at tab groups to stop that. So I have become a master at Google Chrome tab groups.
Hey, Robert, what did you name yours?
The Galactic Mule.
No, that's not
like it.
bad. Yeah.
I like
The
it.
Galactic
You could
Mule.
go with rocket fuel too.
Oh,
Mm.
or the Robert Fuel.
Or I could just call it. I've got the perfect name for it.
The Musk.
To be revealed tomorrow.
Ooh.
Or actually, well,
Even when I say it.
this is only funny because Doug still hasn't seen it, but I could call it the Interstellar.
yes.
I have
love
not.
it. I love it.
Well,
Just
I
that it would
can't.
make Emma angry.
Yes.
What? I can tell you what else is making me angry. The fact that I can't. Illustrator
photos.
is not working right now in conjunction with the live stream. So
Wah, 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 wah.
Wow.
too much
So we
energy.
will just tease.
Oh, here we
tease
go.
them
All right,
here,
is this
or-
how we're gonna do it? And then you're just gonna hold your phone up to the camera.
Doug's gonna do the at-home avatar
Oh my
experience.
There you go.
Da, da, da.
This is our cocktail crawl that is happening
Okay.
tomorrow. We will have recipes on each of our respective sites. And
which none of us have written yet, so we have between now and
Reach.
tomorrow night to do it.
gonna do
You
it
don't
tomorrow
have
morning.
to tell them all the behind the scenes stuff, Robert.
Right?
Yes,
This
yes,
is
we
all
do.
been prepared
BTS.
for
This is
weeks.
pretty awesome.
Yeah. But we will
Um,
all be linking to each other's websites and to each other's cocktails. So you can start at either Fanbowl, 3F by Space, or Shakefire and continue on your website crawl and enjoy 3 separate cocktails that we've all customized.
I just like.
And where do
nerded
we
out
find out
because-
more information about this?
Because we
We
said
will be posting it all tomorrow.
it's all gonna go
on-
up tomorrow.
It's all going to go up tomorrow. It'll all be on our respective sites and on our social media
At
channels that
happy
will be
hour?
promoted.
When?
Yes.
Is this Eastern Standard Time? Because
Happy hour at.
Yes, happy.
Stop
hour.
asking questions, Carrie. We don't know.
Sorry, Carrie.
As soon as we get it up.
But yes,
I like had a nerd out moment because
That's what she
because
said.
I said crawl and like
you
crawlers
said
like
crawl
box
and
and
like
crawl.
crawling
That's-
and like Google and like
Yeah,
like,
crawling our
no, I
websites.
didn't-
Oh.
That's what I was hoping for. I'm
didn't
glad at
even
least
connect.
Emma
Is
picked
this
it up
how
on
this
it.
normally
Oh.
happens, or is this because I was brought into the chat? Like, do you
No.
normally just
No, we just
like,
talk and we just
Drink and scattershot. Yeah, that's how
we
we
just-
do
That's how
it.
we do it.
Yeah.
we
That's
just
how we
roll
do
with
it.
it. We just roll.
You
so
with
it's
know that if you
basically like
watch
our
Karen-
regular Zoom nights? I know.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh,
Jen.
it. Ooh,
With the
burn.
daggers.
Normally, I'm doing.
So
D&D,
basically-
so
I mean, normally they don't go this long.
No, we usually keep it to about an hour, and we're almost double that now.
Yeah.
but like James
We were
Cameron,
finishing-
but like James Cameron,
like
we
James
like
Cameron.
we like to do too much exposition.
We're
We had to
we're
finish the
all
first
we're all
season
about the
of White
visuals
Lotus.
and no story.
Do we want to talk
We
about
have
White Lotus?
story. We have story. Matt, don't
Do
cut
we?
it short.
What was that, Carrie?
Oh,
Oh, I just said Stephen and I were finishing up the first season of White Lotus. We had to
I still need to watch that.
Same.
catch
Me
up.
too.
Oh, it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Well, do we
We'll
want to
see.
go ahead and wrap up with?
I think
Before
we
we
should.
actually hit the 2-hour mark, yeah.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. So I'll
Like
kick us
Christmas,
off.
wrap up this holiday.
Wrap it up.
Aw.
So many puns. So many
Put a
puns.
bow on it.
You're welcome, Doug.
I'm proud of you.
Robert, kick it off.
So you can catch me online at Robert W. Prentice at 3if by Space, as well on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Matt?
You can find me on Twitter at I'm Matt Rodriguez and on Instagram at Matthew M. Rodriguez. Jen?
You can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at Renlark, RENNLARK. Carrie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. You can find me everywhere at Film Fun ATL and soon to be Destination Fandom, which will be released in 2023 as I transition out of a full-time job into going back into film tourism after closing Atlanta Movie Tours.
Woo!
Woohoo!
We will have to have you on as a guest again to
Oh,
talk about that.
I want to talk a lot about Megalopolis, but there's so much filming right now. It's all coming back like crazy. But Megalopolis, seriously, Matt, get on Megalopolis, please.
Will do. I'll try.
And Emma.
Emma.
Well, I'll let Doug go
Douglas.
first. Although Doug doesn't update any of his social media.
Nope.
So
I touch Facebook roughly one time per 12 to 24 months.
And Facebook touches back 3 times for every
I
touch.
don't know how to take
no,
that.
don't make it weird. Don't make it weird.
But no,
That got weird. That was
I
weird,
am-
Robert.
I am Doug Sprinkle, better known as the background character to Emma Loggins. I will be the bartender here and there, the +1, the bodyguard at times, whatever it comes to, it's gotta keep the options open there.
It's a very John Travolta.
It is. Like, I gotta have the jacket and do the.
Yeah.
Do the.
Are you going to introduce Emma as Adele Dazeem, or are we just... Okay.
Ooh.
I'll introduce myself.
The wickedly talented.
I'm Emma Loggins on all social media with the exception of TikTok because somebody registered that. So we are not there. And that's never going to get old of me saying that.
That you're not on TikTok.
All of that being said, stay tuned to our social medias to figure out when we are streaming next because we've not talked about it. It will be in January. We will announce it. And then we will also have our Christmas cocktail crawl, which will go live on shakefire.net. Can I get my name right? Shakefire.net. 3ifbyspace.net. I can't talk after the fanbowl.
IMBD.
And fanbolt.com tomorrow. I will say that the Bolt drink is quite strong. So
It is. It is.
So be
And
wary.
so is the flame.
So
And it is also dangerous too because there is fire involved.
Yeah.
your drink is probably the scariest from a safety
Yeah.
perspective.
Mine
I
is
like
probably the most
that.
complicated too.
Mine
The fire
is
is
neither.
optional. The fire is optional though, so
Mine is neither dangerous nor strong unless you want it to be, but it
there you go.
it
So
does
we
do
suggest
color
probably
changing.
start with Roberts and ease into Emma and my drinks.
Maybe you should start with
Right.
Or Ed
while
with
you're
Robert.
sober.
start with the
I would
stronger
say-
ones and end with Robert.
Yeah, you don't,
Probably-
you don't go with the one that can burn your house down first.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Probably start with mine then.
Start with
Yeah.
yours, then mine.
I would-
then Robert.
I would just
my-
say the only caveat I have to this is that there is a very large storm coming, and like it's gonna be really cold tomorrow. And so I'm not sure what I need for this, but
So we're gonna have
I
a
hope
topic.
I hope I have the products that I need.
Maybe.
That is. We did not plan the weather ahead of this, so
This is true.
we cannot.
Did you not? I mean, come on.
No.
I did not.
I'm sorry.
But we will also be doing additional content probably throughout the next week.
Yeah.
So the Christmas cocktail can also become a New Year's cocktail. So
Exactly.
And will.
It's a
And it
dinnertime
will.
And it
cocktail.
will.
And it
enjoy it whenever you like.
Especially if you do the entire crawl and you just forget about all of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
right.
Do it again.
Do it again on New
That,
Year's.
that may happen.
All
yeah.
right. Well, thank you guys all for joining us. We will be back.
Thanks
at
for having
some-
me.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Gary.
Thanks for joining us,
Yay.
I'm
Gary.
so glad you invited me.
Improv 2, drop in.
I know.
Woo.
We
I
will
would
be
have
back
dressed
in
better.
January. So please stay tuned.
Happy
to figure out
Happy
what-
holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New
Happy
Year,
Happy Hanukkah,
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy-
Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays.
Kwanzaa. There's a
See
lot.
you in
of
2023.
holidays.
2023.
2023.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, Carrie.
Bye, Carrie.
Gary was just like, peace out.
Boom.
All right, bye, guys.
Still alive. Still waving.
Good luck.